gotta put the time in. Wake up, Billy's. Wake up, Billy's. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show of people. Billy's our hope, so to needless reason. Nobody feel left out. It's the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness. We are the people to make. We are the changes. WB. And all the things that will feel happen like dog on blue skies. And nothing make people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Billy's here. Wake up, Billy's. Wake up, Billy's. Another day is here. Wake up, Billy's. Wake up, Billy's. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Billy's. Wake up, Billy's. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Billy's. Wake up, Billy's. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Get up, make every day count. Don't waste it, people. Do your part, play your role, get where you need to. You can tune in from work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait? It's a time calling. It's a show with no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. WB. Wake up, Billy's. Wake up, Billy's. Another day is here. Wake up, Billy's. Wake up, Billy's. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Billy's. Wake up, Billy's.
All right, welcome back. This is WUB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. It's a Thursday morning, the 12th day of December 2024. I'm Nuri Mohammed, and we welcome you to the program this morning. We have an exciting show for you as usual, but we have some preliminaries that we go through. One is to give you an update on the weather, which is very chilly out there. And secondly, we give you an update on the news center provided for us by our news center. This morning we have Mr. Tariq Matthews as our forecaster. Mr. Matthews.
Good morning, Belize. Moist and unstable conditions continues to linger over our area. The 24-hour forecast, mostly cloudy to overcast skies, a few showers, periods of light rain, and isolated thunderstorms will be mostly offshore this morning. Then, shower activity will gradually move in and affect mainly coastal and southern areas this evening and tonight. The maximum temperatures for today will reach 77 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 74 inland, and 68 up in the hills. The low temperatures for tonight will be around 70 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 65 inland, and 59 up in the hills. The winds will be from the north-northeast at 10 to 20 knots with higher gusts, and the sea conditions will be moderate to rough. There's a small craft warning in effect for strong gusty winds and rough seas. Operators of small craft are advised to seek safe harbor. A high tide will occur this morning at 8:06, a low tide this afternoon at 1 o'clock, another high tide tonight at 7:08, and another low tide early tomorrow morning at 2:41. The sun will rise this morning at 6:13 and will set this evening at 5:19. The moon will rise this afternoon at 2:54 and will set early tomorrow morning at 4:22. In the sargassum forecast, impacts, if any, from sargassums will continue to be minimal as observation shows little to no sargassum over our area. The outlook for Friday and Friday night, skies will be cloudy at times. A few showers and isolated thunderstorms will affect mostly southern coastal areas Friday morning. Elsewhere, shower activity will be isolated. Then, an increase in shower activity is expected over the country, especially along the coast Friday night. For more details on our forecast, please visit our website at nms.gov.bz. With that, we end this morning's forecast from the Belize National Met Service.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989, Creme FM presents the news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news.
Yaya Marin Coleman, chairperson of the UBAD Educational Foundation, UEF, has requested meetings with officials from different organizations whose focus is the well-being, development, and child rights of children and human rights. This is in connection with her advocacy for the Ministry of Education to introduce a national hair policy and legislation for schools in Belize in order to put an end to discrimination against students over their hair. On Wednesday, at her fourth day of protest in front of the Belize District Educational Center on Mahogany Street in Belize City, Maureen Coleman reported that one of the three institutions she has communicated with has agreed to a meeting.
One of the things we do since the last time with the OCHA, you have sent a letter to three entities where it's of interest to them. So we sent a letter to the Human Rights Commission of Belize, the National Commission for Families and Children, and UNICEF. We asked for face-to-face meeting with them for no long talking. We just want to know, are you aware of these two human rights violations? If you know, when you may know. You do anything about it? You have to lead on process. Do you want to participate in the process? So tomorrow morning, we have a meeting with UNICEF, and a high-level meeting with UNICEF. So when I say next week, I will have some report back I've had communication with the National Commission for Families and Children, and the person who I talked to was very interested in what I had to say. So I'll go ahead and send on the 11 news stories, which show 6 districts, 4 towns, 3 villages from primary school to junior college, Belize. We'll make the news because remember a lot of them violations get reported where they had hair discrimination. And then last but not least, I did make contact with the person who is in charge of policy for the Ministry of Education. I just tell you no, because the last time I tell me to try reach out, and I'm goodly reasoning, but next Wednesday I will have updated on that as well. So right now I'm really excited, but remember Malika Wagner, that's my hairstylist. 5 hours. You know what it takes to make this hair stand up? You see the wire what I use to make it, that maybe supposed to start bust the head, but I give thanks to Malika Wagner for the wire number. No, call me and I give them a Malika number. And I really appreciate the support where I get from the community. Kim Grandma go, I give me breakfast from the morning when I choir. Really good community support. And I give thanks that we have our own media house, because it's the only media house that the report. I keep the site for make one point, but you know yourself, give people enough rope, make them hang themselves. The other media house that knows that a rope had to get there for hang themselves.
Maureen Coleman also had a development to share regarding an offer for legal accompaniment for her advocacy.
UEF work with Global Legal Action Network. It's an international organization of attorneys, primarily European attorneys, and UEF link with them for environmental justice work. So, but of course I share other UEF work, so imagine my surprise when they reach out and say, if you need any legal guidance, we have links to Caribbean attorneys where at minimum we could listen to you and offer legal guidance. So that was big for UEF as well. So you know they said Tiger Maga about the Kakatari? That UEF mark my words, you know. They want to change it. The power of the people bigger than the people in power. Remember that.
Just one thing, have you considered submitting a freedom of information request for those supposed policies that the ministry says it has?
It is on the to-do list, but because we allow like I said, I talked to the person in charge of policy, and based on what he tell me, I'm not to reveal everything yet, but based on what he tell me, would allow the process for work. Then if we check off everything on the box and that no work, of course, especially because we've always been aware of the Freedom of Information Act. I have to give mad respect to Candy Gonzalez in particular for creating one book for the community use, for tell we how to write the letter, who you have to send it to, really help with community organizing. Respect to Candy and George Gonzalez. They're not there physically with them, but the energy of the work what they do really matters. So enter here about Freedom of Information Act, I think about Candy Gonzalez in particular. And then with the Belizean journalists, where the fisheries journalism with recently, and we hear this consistent issue, which comes back to another thing, and I know it might seem off topic, but it isn't, because UEF does environmental justice work. Belize signed and ratified the Escazú Agreement, which is the regional agreement on access to information, public participation, and justice in environmental matters. So the Fisheries Department not sharing the information with Marco Lopez in particular, who asked for the fish stock data, it's a violation of the Escazú Agreement. And there is a complaint mechanism, and it's one of the things that the UF is looking at for 2025. We have a whole Blue Bond campaign in 2025, and we could expect more community actions from UBAD Educational Foundation. And remember, under the people and save the people.
Since coming to City Hall, Belize City Mayor Bernard Wagner, who has a banking background, has emphasized fiscal prudence as a primary focus of his tenure. Part of this is ensuring self-sufficiency for the council so it can meet on its own its operational expenses. A large chunk of the council's revenue goes to the payment of garbage collection, which is outsourced to Belize Waste Control. The monthly fee for the services is just over $250,000. This week, the mayor told Creme News and XTV it would be his best send-off to leave the council that has instituted a garbage fee when his term ends in little over 2 years.
I want to leave with not having another council having to deal with this matter. That would be my best send-off, right? To not have any future council have to be grappling with this sort of, and that is why we have engaged in other various ways of new revenue streams. If you see, we are doing with the electric bus, we are doing with the electric taxis, we are doing with parking facilities. Those are new revenue streams. Public transportation in the city will be one of the city's greatest revenue streams in the next 10 to 20 years. If the model that we are putting together is left to grow and work, it will be the end of cyclical revenue streams for the council, because that will be a wrong revenue streams, and then it would enhance the property, the trade, the liquor, the traffic, but you will never have the peaks and valleys again. So new revenue streams are important for a modern municipality. You can't rely on the conventional property, trade, liquor, because of the cyclical nature of those revenue streams. And that is why if we say we have 10 new smart parking facility all across the city generating 4,000 per week, and you have 10 of those, right? That's 40,000 per week. If you have your e-buses generating between 2 buses below 10,000 per week revenue, I'm talking gross revenues, though I'm not saying net, gross revenues, and those expand out, then you have a garbage fee. You will have a municipality then that is self-sufficient.
Agricultural Minister Jose Mai traveled to Palenque, Mexico over the weekend, where he met with counterpart who was newly appointed under President Claudia Steinbaum. The meeting occurred on the sidelines of the meeting organized by SORISA and the parent body of ORISA. ORISA is the international organization responsible for cross-border plant and animal health. Minister Mai says that he and the Mexican minister, Dr. Jorge Berdi Sarstan, discussed concerns that have arisen for Belize's incipient cattle industry due to the threat of the New World screwworm.
Prior to having screwworm in the region, there is a given protocol that Belize was given to export cattle to Mexico. But with the outbreak of screwworm in the region, that protocol changed. And they said to us that if we were to find a case of screwworm in Belize, we would be unable to export cattle to Mexico. That left us in a very nervous position, because there are thousands, millions of dollars being invested in the cattle industry because of that market, and to not being able to export, then everybody was skeptical and they were already in doubt. Should I invest, should I not? Well, we are fortunate that Belize and El Salvador, up to yesterday, were still free of screwworm. Every Central American country has screwworm, including Mexico. So the U.S. has stopped export of cattle from Mexico to the U.S. Mexico has stopped the flow of cattle from Guatemala to Mexico. Mexico has stopped also from Nicaragua, from Honduras. So the only cat going into Mexico right now legally is from Belize. And so Mexico realizes that we have done a wonderful job at preventing screwworm from coming to the country. Up to last night, we were only Belize and El Salvador. That may change very, very shortly, but the risk that we may have it is slim because we don't import cattle. Again, we're the only country that does not import cattle on the hoof. So Mexico realizes that the informal trade, the cost of exporting cattle informally is a lot cheaper than exporting it legally, because the legal exportation takes a lot of cost. It takes quarantine, it takes vaccination, it takes sampling of blood, it takes feeding the animals to 21 days quarantine, it takes inspecting by officials from Orissa, from Senasica, from Baja, and so it's a very expensive process to export cattle formally. The informal market, you have to vaccinate nothing, there's no quarantine, there's no cost, and so the cost of exporting informal cattle is far cheaper than formal. So who wants to export formal? So they realized that because they've put so many control measures in place, that the contraband or informal trade was beating them. So the informal trade was far greater than the formal trade. So they have now thought that it is best for them to revisit the protocols and try to ease up on the protocols, but still not allowing screwworm disease to come in.
Minister Mai says that he is very happy about the decision to relax the measures. Following the announcement by the government of 4 GST-free days this month, members of the public have had several questions about what products the waiver will apply to and those which it will not. Services will not be included, and so the Belize Tax Service has explained that the purchase of top-up for mobile phones will not be a part of the waiver, as that is considered a service. Likewise, the waiver will not apply to the purchase of motorcycles, as those are considered vehicles. However, car parts will be exempt of GST. Boats are also not applicable under the waiver. The tax services ask that businesses display the price of products inclusive of GST so that the consumer can see on their receipt that the GST has been removed. Businesses that do not comply will be issued with an NIP to be slapped with a fine starting from $5,000 up. If a business chooses not to open on the GST-free days, they cannot be forced to do so. The tax department will have its help desk available on GST-free days to provide guidance to consumers and businesses if needed. The numbers are available on the tax service website. They include 613-8375, 613-2773, 614-5731, and 613-4711. Staff will also be doing rounds at businesses to address concerns and answer questions. Yesterday, during an information session organized by the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Deputy Director General of the Tax Service, Vilma Broster, explained some of the dynamics for businesses.
Importation, you will be paying the GST. There's no exemption there, any at all. But the good thing is that remember that you are able to claim your input tax. You have, I'll say, wholesalers who are both, you have businesses that are both wholesalers and retailers at the same time. The wholesale part, those are done to businesses, and so those persons are not entitled to the exemption. The final consumer is the one that is entitled to the exemption. And you also will be able to claim, like I mentioned, your input tax. So if you are charged GST, let's say you proceeded to buy, you're a business, and you went and you purchased, let's say, 100 hams for your small business. So you will be charged the GST. You will be able to claim that back. but you will not be reporting stand GST on that because it will be exempted if it's sell within the month of December.
And that's our news package this morning, the 12th day of December 2024. There's more news coming up on Creme Radio at 12 o'clock after the morning stew. Also at 3 o'clock, another news update, and at 5:15, a full news broadcast. All this on Creme Radio. Here on XTV, we bring you the full news broadcast at 6 o'clock this evening. We'll take a short break and come back, and we'll open the phone lines for this morning. Stay tuned.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989. The news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports.
This holiday season, may your home be filled with love, peace, and joy. And may these blessings follow you.
right, welcome back. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize, Morning Vibes. It's a Thursday morning, the 12th day of December. I'm Nuri Mohammed, and we welcome you to the show this morning. We have open lines. Our number here, excuse me, 280-5848, and you're welcome to call in and to weigh in whatever concerns you have, any observations you have, or just a greeting. All of it is accepted this morning. Have you visited the grocery store upstairs, the store where you take where you get with this year's zinc mass? As you know, we've been having creme Christmas, but this year around it's zinc mass, and it is in its 4th day tonight. And the hosts are Brick City, as you know, Amanda Taylor, as well as Frisco. And you're welcome to call in and to make your orders and see where you could get, or to take where you could get in this particular show. Our lines are open. Excuse me, our lines are open, so you're free to call and to weigh in on whatever concern that you have. A couple of weeks ago, the government of Australia made a very, very profound commitment that they would control, or in fact ban, social media access to young people. It's not clear how that will be worked out, but it's a very interesting step because of the influence of social media and young people. Welcome, caller.
Yes, good morning. I'd like to be on air.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yes. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum, Nuri.
Wa alaikum assalam, sir.
And good morning, Belize. I have a concern about the intelligence and wisdom of Belizeans and their leaders. For example, when it comes to resourcefulness and the use of our assets and resources, specifically a few years ago, you had the Rose Road saga, where the material was burnt. Now those are useful materials. Those materials have been given to schools that do woodwork, whereby products can be produced and so on. And that is one situation. Then there's another situation whereby the plane that was cracked recently with them, we don't know what was in it, but a job was cracked, was found intact. And they destroyed the plane. That plane could have been used as a toy and tool for the brethren in the BDF to practice to drive, to be able to pilot. The maintenance, of course, is a different matter, but we're talking about the usage of the assets. Why destroy it? Then there's a situation with the guns that they confiscated. Then those guns in their good, let that go into the hands of the police department and army. All you have to get the serial number and put the thing in its proper perspective. Why destroy it when it's useful? Then there's a situation, another situation now, where you have confiscated vehicles rotting in various compounds, whether a public work compound or a police department compound. My brother, believe then you have mechanic shops in these schools where they keep left like by master, the man on the little motor man, the two-ball man.
Bailey. Bailey.
What is that?
Bailey.
Ah, Master Bailey. They people have a mechanic shop. Take their vehicle there, turn their vehicle to like Master Bailey, and maybe they give it the windrush or car if they do art mechanics. And they could do different aspects of art mechanics. like air conditioning and welding, metal work, transmission. You know, train the people that use the material while getting in the waste. Yeah? And then we have relationships with foreign countries, like maybe South Korea and people. The people are Taiwan. The people have high technology, get tools and equipment, and train the people, and then the brethren could learn different aspects of these things. Here we're talking about a skilled labor force. My brother is start a skilled labor force. And we have a program we're pushing that is competency-based education. Many it's excellent. But what the work? We don't start. So let us stop waste these resources that is asset. So the brethren in cabinet and the representatives and the same people in Master Daily and the other brethren need to think about this idea and get after them people to get the equipment and vehicles also to them. You understand what I'm saying?
Very much clear, brother. Very good points. Very good points.
We have to use our intelligence and wisdom in excellence. We talk, okay, many of us start everywhere, enlightened. We're gonna, we start, we ourselves need to be enlightened.
Indeed. Indeed.
And finally, the teachers' union and the unions, they need to put their act together and don't jump up on any POP and UDP political issue. Get the act together. Because what is happening there, the news of the political football, if you notice election here, and you see what it wants, it's clear to be seen for those who want to see. The electoral politics is woefully inadequate to address the many issues that face workers in this country. Health, education, and so on. So the union need to put their act together. They could set up cooperative industries within themselves. The cooperatives are separate legal entity, but it could be part and part of the union. They have their own consumer tools. Remember, we have to the PhD and master's degree and all the high level people. We don't feel the degree at all.
Why, I think so.
They do that kids back then.
Yeah.
And these suckers to the phenomenon. My brother, believe them, that's to say for now. And
you said a lot.
On the air,
yeah, you said a lot.
Any kind of response.
Yeah,
but please don't try to attack the messenger. Just check out the message, please.
All right. Well, you know,
okay, my brother, compliments of the season to you and to all the Belizeans at home and abroad.
All right, the same to you, my brother. And you're making some very good points this morning. I mean, you know, his points are very easy to understand, and sometimes there's a story behind the story. But I thought the same thing when the Rosewood was destroyed by the representatives down in Toledo. I think that was in the previous administration. And I asked myself the same thing. Why? Because these were contraband. Why, when government takes it over, it doesn't legalize it so that we could utilize it and benefit from this extremely expensive wood? Welcome, caller.
Hi, brother.
Yes, welcome, brother.
I believe. But I have story from Manchester. I can't understand what the man know if the man running here since last interview is already property and garbage. He try to compare the villages, the towns, or district with Belize City. Belize City property taxes are higher than the out district or the villages. So just a time, it's very easy to add on. For him, it's very easy to add on because he is just collecting a salary just like everyone in the city council office. It's very easy for them to collect their salary. But it's very hard for the poor people to pay their taxes already, and to saddle them with more additional charges is outrageous. It's a total disrespect they can do a lot with all those taxes they collect. You and I know it very well. Money collected from property taxes is not only taxes. Thank you.
All right. Well, I thought he would discuss a little bit more. Nobody wants taxes, and nobody wants any reason to give out more money, especially to the state. And that's not just Belize. All over, people don't like taxes, and they don't like, no matter where you explain the tax will be for, they want to avoid the taxes. But as I listen to the mayor, it sounds as though he is trying to accomplish something that previous administrations have not been able to accomplish. The fact is that our garbage is not being picked up, and the garbage is not being picked up because of the way in which the contract with the waste control is set up. We are paying, and I'm saying we now as a city, is paying a substantial amount of the revenue that is brought in to this one company. And his vision, and he's saying it recently, but he's been saying it for the last year or more, that if there was a small tax levied here in Belize City, that would contribute to paying off this debt to a private sector company. I think the figure I heard last night was $5 a month, which would work out, as he said, to $60 a year. Welcome, caller.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Nuri.
Wa alaikum assalam, sir.
How are you?
I am doing good, man. Thank God. How are you?
I'm doing all right, but how praise is due to Allah.
Indeed, indeed.
Yes, sir. Brother Nuri, it's been a while since I called you.
It's been a long time. Long time, brother. I was wondering if you've moved from the gentle giant to the sleeping giant. I know you have for you a good while, brother. Elroy.
No, sir. I've just been observing things, Brother Nuri.
Yeah.
And one of the things I want to speak about that I've been observing is the efforts of the LIU and all the people aligned with the LIU. I want to say great job. We have the LIU has been able to curb the violence in the community, and I am grateful to all the members of the LIU for this effort, and I'm also grateful to the street organization, the public calling, the government members, but I have been tasked to call in the street organization. These brothers have been able to show that they are able to hold on the peace, and if there is somebody that is willing to give them an ear, they will keep the peace. So again, I just call to big up that effort, Brother Nuri.
All right.
Just to see the violence ease up right in the street.
Yeah.
Peace, believe.
All right, my brother. Good, indeed. Yes, and that's important to acknowledge. We have not had any spate of gang violence for the last 7 to 8 months. That's been since June 24th. There was a 3-month state of emergency, and that ended in September. Now we're in December, and we have not seen that fall back into the incessant violence that we've seen among these youths. And there are many efforts, and we definitely acknowledge that LIU is a star, because it has been putting a lot of behind-the-scenes effort under the leadership of our sister Dominique Morales to ensure that it gets its information out. It is also involved in trying to make sure that those young people who have not yet gotten involved in gangs are having access to education. The Tubal Institute continues to run a program. I think this is about the 3rd or 4th cohort that they are dealing with. And it is making a dent, because we know, and these are studies that have confirmed, that our youths on the street are not born bad, but they are many times victims of circumstances that come way, way back into the family, or the lack thereof, or the complete confusion that goes on in some of the families that stress out these youths with tremendous trauma, which they play out in violent ways. This is not to justify or to make excuses but simply to try to take a more scientific understanding of what we're dealing with, rather than just running around like one chicken with the head off the pick up man and put man in a jail and figure if you put man in a jail, they want to cool down. If they don't get an orientation to change their behavior or to change their mindset, then that's just a reprieve for a few months. And then they come back, it melts down, and they go right back to the same behavior. So there has to be an effort scientifically to engage, to get change of behavior, to get change of thinking, and even then, you won't get 100% result. But from what the caller is saying, what the commissioner said, what the minister of Home Affairs said last week, we can see clearly that the crime statistics are going down. You don't mean murder not to take place, because murder is in fact taking place. We hear murder in Orange Walk, we hear murder at PG, we hear murder at Cayo. But the murders that have been taking place with this particular cohort that people refer to as gangs. The brother said street organizations, with his my language likewise. These are organized groups of brothers on the street whose trade is illegal, but whose motivation is very much business-like and very much organized. And so we need to stop thinking that they are just wild kids running around crazy and know what to do, and just to get in additional trouble. So the effort that has been made to engage them and to bring them up to a level of respect. And when I say bring them up to a level of respect, not only respect for us to respect them, but for them to respect themselves and to recognize that they're on a dead-end street. Listen, there's only two ways to go when you're involved in the gangs. You either go in a Lardridge cemetery, and Lardridge cemetery now is full up. If you were to do a statistics with Lardridge cemetery over the last 20 years, the average age of people who have died and buried up there is around 30 years old. It's about 30 years old. It's not no old people who die when you get old. It's mostly young people. So we need to turn that direction. The other thing besides going to Lardridge Cemetery, of course, is doing prison time. And both are debilitating issues for us as a society and certainly for a city. Let's take our first break for 2 Cents Cam, which is brought to you by 4 Point Security.
You're watching WUB and this is XTV. And word on the street that ham get expensive, all right? I don't know if it's true or not, but we could go up on the street and find out the people in 2 cents about ham. Christmas to come up, everybody want a ham.
And them know the price of ham.
So you straight for the Christmas, you want to get a ham?
I want to get a ham.
That's your 2 cents?
Yes, sir.
What do you think about the price of ham right now?
Gone sky high.
So they eat ham for this Christmas?
I mean, that tradition, you have to do it still.
That's your 2 cents? Yeah. All right.
You know what is the price?
So you want to get ham this Christmas?
I got ham already.
That's your 2 cents?
I got ham already.
Oh, you done ham up?
Me got my ham long time.
All right, you're big.
welcome back. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. Our telephone number here, 280-5848, and we got somebody who's lay waiting. Welcome, welcome.
Hello?
Yes, hello, welcome.
Good morning, Nuri. This is Sandra Coy.
Welcome, sister.
On Monday this week, I called in to compliment the government on their presentation at the ICJ. The work done by the two lawyers.
Yes, I heard you.
I made the point that I wasn't sure who had delivered the opening statement. It was Mr. Williams, at least that's what the court referred to him as. And I didn't hear all his statements.
Okay.
And so Mose indicated that he was the CEO in the pertinent ministry, right?
Yes, he is.
Then, day before yesterday, I took the time to locate the entire presentation, and lo and behold, in that recording, the opening statement referred to the Monkey River situation as a climate change catastrophe, which it isn't at all, Nuri. So that information, we actually went to an international venue, a court, and gave false information. And I confirmed it with Mose. Before I even stated my observation, what did he understand to be the Monkey River problem? And he stated what I had understood also, except that I had forgotten about the excavator situation, and then somebody pointed it out to me again, and I went, oh yes, but I knew there was more than one reason. So yesterday Mose referred to it as mining, and I asked him, is this sand extraction? He said yes. Okay, that's number one. So here we are in an international arena, doing what we like to do, give wrong information, what is the name of that, the Vice President of the United States?
Vance, yeah, Vance.
When he told a lie, and he was challenged, he said, yes, he know he told a lie, but he was trying to reach an objective.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the first issue. The second issue is screw worms. At no point in that thing I heard on the radio this morning, and that's the only time I have heard it, did I hear any reference to the pasturing of Guatemalan cattle on Belizean land down in the south, Nuri. Or across the Belizean border, I would say right along the western border, really. But Guatemala has the screw worm, Nuri.
Yes, they do.
No less than the minister said, only two countries are free, Belize and Salvador.
Right.
Then what the hell, why do we have Guatemalan cattle pasturing in this country, Nuri? I lost a dog towards the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s to screw worm. Never seen it, had never seen it in my life. And she had a wound. She had given birth, and evidently must have torn part of her body tissue, and she developed. It was horrible. And then, frightened now, because I'm trying to deal with the matter, I decided maybe if I pray the word, but that added to the mess, she died. The worms came out of the womb, Nuri. What's her name, Nuri? It was terrible. So that was my first experience, not the only one with screw worm. Never dealt with it before. Realized this is a horrible situation. The flies lays the egg in the wound, and then they hatch there. You know, it was terrible. So that's the second. So what you started cattle, you have raised forest to the ground to grow this cattle. Supposedly to send to Mexico, but Mexico has a problem now because of the screw worm issue. They can't export their cattle because of screw worm, because they have screw worm. Don't you think, Nuri, that we need truth on that
Yeah, I didn't know anything about this grazing of Guatemalan cattle in the south.
They graze them in the south. They graze them along the border. Not going to go to the south because right out there in the Chiquibo, they have found an area set for that. Now that's the second observation. The third observation is, I call most to ask him, well, comment on this GST matter. When you listen to this GST matter, which I only heard, I thought I heard it in an indictment, but it must have been an ad I heard. Because I have been listening to the local situation and taken up with the foreign horrors and tragedies. So, but I didn't know that the People's United Party had actually named itself in the ad. So when I spoke to most about it, I said, that is an election gimmick, you know. And it's not clear to us who is going to pay the final cost. Because the retailer buys it with the GST written into it and then retrieves the GST from the final customer. I have argued for years, Nuri, that should become a strict point of sale tax. Not charged at the beginning because government is greedy and need money all the time and so they charge and collect it, and then down the road the final person doesn't know if he will get his money back. That is what has added to the high cost of living in this country. 12.5%, isn't that what it is?
Yes.
Okay. So who will reimburse it? And I ask more, well, is it that the retailers have agreed to give government to forego, to pay, to leave government with their payment out of love of the party? Because ultimately then that becomes a political party decision of the retailer, who has to do it because he may go out of business if he can't, if he doesn't comply. But, as most said, well, somebody will have to, if he has to retrieve his money. And my question is exactly that, Nuri. You are going to empty the shelves. You worked out a scheme to empty the shelves for the Christmas. But the American dollar is at an all-time high on the international market. Is that right or wrong, Nuri?
Well, it's going up indeed, yes.
That all-time high. And that means it will cost more to buy goods out of the U.S. or you have to pay the American currency. It will cost more. Not to mention the political chaos in the Middle East that is expanding and in the Far East, which will then add to the cost of transportation. So it's a multiple jeopardy. It's not even a double jeopardy. It's a multiple jeopardy from every angle. But when the cost goes up and it lands at the Belize shore, on the Belizean shore, the higher the cost, the greater the amount of revenue government can collect. Is that right or wrong, Nuri?
Well, they are the final collectors, yes.
Yes. And GST is written into that. So it will be paid by the host. Notice, then in the very ad, they give you the impression that everything on the shelf will be free. Then down the road, you hear how they had a meeting yesterday with Chamber of Commerce and this one and that one, and they told you which one, what will be exempted and what will not be exempted. This is exactly our problem, Belizean people. We have created, with our eyes wide open, a transactional political system. Would you agree with that or not, Nuri?
Well, yes, I'm listening to you very closely, but yes,
would you agree that Belize has a transactional political system? You pay, political power is bartered in the marketplace. There's a buyer and there's a seller. The seller is the politician and the buyer are the people. And they buy the political, they get paid for it. I tell you, I have a friend of mine, she doesn't need money at all. She has property, she rents out. But anytime they're political office, she will go and get her money. And she told me that for one election, she only got $60 and she thinks her vote was worth more than that. And she's not the only person who has said that to me, Nuri. And so we buy and sell in the market. We were willing to literally buy and sell a referendum on the ownership of this country because it was bought and sold. I know people who got as much as $400 and maybe other people got more. That brings me to the last point. The Legion study why we are all going to be swallowing down the lemonade and the cake and the turkey and the wine and we get drunk and all that. Study what's happening there in the Middle East. The Middle East is the test case for what they are planning for the entire planet. Look at Gaza. Gaza doesn't exist anymore. You would agree with that, wouldn't you, Nuri?
Not in its original form. No, it doesn't exist. It's completely.
It has been turned into a wasteland.
Completely.
And the people are being slaughtered like the way you exterminate flies.
Flies, exactly.
In front of our very eyes.
Yeah. We're getting the response. The protest is becoming dimmer and dimmer.
Yesterday at the UN, they had another monumental vote. This time I think it's 159 or 157, including France and Italy. Germany and Italy. Actually crossed the line to vote for a ceasefire. And you know the United States
still did.
Again.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
But look at what's happening to the Syrians. They also, like the Middle East, they were in a transactional political system, but their transaction was your life for political power. And so the Syrians were slaughtered by their own leader, carrying out a massacre of over 40,000 people at the beginning of the 80s, right or wrong?
Absolutely true. Yes.
Well,
that was the father of Bashir.
The person who is now in exile in Russia.
Right.
Well, because of that, over 12 million Syrians are in exile abroad as refugees. 12 million, you know.
Yeah.
Well, how many times our population? Let's round this out at 500,000. That is 12 million divided by 500,000. Going to get you 2 to a million. So that's 24 times the population of Belize. 24 times the population of Belize in exile. And what has now happened? Because the opposition forces have managed to move and coalesce and unite, they have been able now to expel the regime and seize power in no less than the seat of power, Damascus. While that is happening, what do we have Israel doing? Bombing everything it can find in Syria, right or wrong?
Yes, absolutely. Look.
Everything, including airports.
Yeah.
Yesterday they bombed between the arrival of the people in Damascus and all of that, the Israelis have destroyed 15 Red Moons.
Yeah.
Not to mention airplanes. Done all of that. But you think that's bad? You think that's bad, Belize? The European countries have decided to expel all refugees pending processing in their countries for residence and citizenship. Expel them. Send them back to a Syria that is not yet stabilized. The opposition party that is at the center of power is treated as a terrorist organization by the UN and European countries, right or wrong?
They were, but he seems that he has been, I don't know what you would explain.
No, but they have lifted it, yes, formally. Have they lifted it formally?
No, they're not lifted it, but I'm saying that they are acknowledging that he is the leader and he was a part of Al-Qaeda.
And they are prepared to say in English, one in French, and one in German. A horror that their governments are doing this. Because what the governments are doing is forbidden under the international legislation that governs refugee status.
Precisely.
It's forbidden. But you think they give a damn because they are fighting now the far right in their countries. They cannot afford anything that's going to push the far right over the edge into power. And those refugees, they consider will, so they are sending them back to a house of horrors.
Complete craziness. Complete craziness.
While the American government, against the opposition of many sectors of American society, are sending the Haitians back into a total house of horrors. So Belizeans, when you all went to that, don't refer to those ballots, to those voting booths, and you sold your vote on a referendum for the ownership of this land, look at Syria, look at Lebanon, look at Palestine. Those people, there are a few blacks among them, but the general amount of them look more like the mestizo population and some of them even white skin, right?
That is correct. That's correct.
But you think that matters? No.
No.
Has no value. So, what we need to clean up this country, to stop having a government that tell us you know, the way our governments deal with us is the way the men deal with women. The kind of man who come home and sweet you up, bring on bouquet, tell you dress up tonight and get ready for when you come home, things are going to be nice and cozy and sweet. And but I have to go there because I got a meeting with business associate. No business associate, it's the other woman in his life. And he goes up and you, maybe deep down you know he's telling a lie, but you're hoping to God it's not a lie. So you go along with it. And he doesn't come home until 2 in the morning, and when he comes home he's drunk and angry and he beats you up. After you got ready for him and pick it up yourself and hope that everything will be nice, that's not how it worked out. And that is how they deal with us. They deal with us on a transactional basis because we have allowed them. Nuri, my great-granduncle Henry Robert too, was one of the founding members of that People's United Party. When Uncle Henry died, Uncle Henry had a state funeral. So that tells you the level of his importance to the People's United Party. And when he was planning to join the People's United Party, he went and told my mother, Maggie, my mother's name was Margaret. He said, Maggie, George has asked me to join the movement they are forming, and I shall be joining. The reason I'm joining is they will be giving people the vote. You don't need to have property. You don't need to have money. You don't need to have anything to get the vote. And there are people in my family who don't have the vote. And they're literate, they are thinking people, but they don't have property. So they can't get the vote. Because at that time, to have the vote, you have to have property. You're something to join. And many people of this generation joined. Not to get, no transaction was there, Nuri.
Yeah,
it was at the principle of the vote and advancing the country to independence.
Right.
And no less than the Nationalist Party of this country that supports and has delivered a free, independent, surviving Belize. Look at what we have now. Look at what we have. So the other party come along, the other two parties, and copy them, and so we have a mess. We have a mess. But study what they are prepared to do to Syria, Lebanon, and the Palestine, to Somalia. Study. You think, look at the Western Sahara that we went to the UN to vote for recently, which I applaud totally. Mr. Trump was preparing to give permission to Morocco to take over the Western Sahara legally. Just as he did with East Jerusalem. Why did the U.S. move their embassy? Why did Guatemala put their embassy in East Jerusalem? East Jerusalem is not supposed to be under Israeli government management at all.
Yeah.
And that's written on paper, but you think they give a damn? No. So while we are marinating and enjoying the Christmas, and please don't think that I don't understand you to be opposed to that at all. But I am begging and pleading with Belizeans to become a serious sober people. There's a word in Spanish, soberbio. Become a sober people. Not only sober in not having marijuana and fentanyl and cocaine and alcohol in your system. Not only that, but sober in your thinking, meticulous, careful.
Absolutely.
Because with time, we don't have a country. We can't arrive at that border to beg for. We won't be able to arrive at that border to beg for any refuge. Don't you agree with that, Nuri?
It will be very difficult. We don't have that in history.
What you said?
I'm saying it would be very, very difficult for us to be knocking on the border asking for refuge.
People are sealing off their borders now.
Yeah.
Because survival is going to be extremely difficult.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, sister. We'll take our next break at 15 minutes now after 8 o'clock.
Sing Mass 2024.
All right, welcome back. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes, and we still have some time for telephone calls, 280-5848. A couple of things that I didn't finish my thoughts on. Well, first the call. The first caller made some very good points in terms of what do we do with these confiscated goods? What do we do with goods that have been taken over, either in the case of the burning of the redwood in Toledo, the confiscation of several vehicles, and he's so right, there are many in the compounds. Several of them are in the public works compound, the police compounds, and these are not vehicles that are necessarily going to be handed back to any particular individual. They're confiscated, but they're sitting there rotting in these lots. And the caller was suggesting that they be passed over to various schools that deal with mechanics, so that instead of the work being done is a theoretical work, it can be done with practical, having some vehicles there that they can dismantle or put back together and learn the skill of not only being a mechanic, but maybe even being a mechanical engineer, learning how it was structured in the first place. But he's saying that rather than having these confiscated goods be destroyed, that they should be put into proper use. And he pointed out also with the wood and the fact that, you know, there was no way that those hundreds of thousands of dollars of confiscated wood, redwood, a very valuable wood, should have been burned, only because, if I could remember, the excuse or the reason given is that she did not want them to be taken up and redistributed, or for somebody to take them and to dead raise, you know, be able to make some money off that which was confiscated. But the caller is making an extremely good point. But where do you do that? What ministry would be responsible for that? If it is the police for confiscation, or is it the Ministry of what ministry? I'm looking at which ministry you would really be able to target to say this is the ministry responsible for making a decision to process those confiscated goods into some useful area, schools or whatever. It would seem to me that that's something that would be better done by the Prime Minister's office. He has many advisors that advises him in his office, and maybe that's an area going into the future that we can in fact reprocess these goods into useful areas. If it's coming from the Prime Minister's office and we're clear that there are no extenuating costs, no extenuating legal when they say hiccup or obstacles to pass, and it is clearly within government hands, then yes, it should be taken and utilized. And so the caller is making an extremely important point. And he's also pointing out the fact that we talk this kind of talk all the time, this kind of common sense talk all the time. But for us to follow through and walk the walk, as he said, is an observation that, you know, we got to be very honest with ourselves. Why would we, and it's not this administration because it took place in the last administration, but it was government. Why would we allow valuable wood to be burned because we're trying to set a lesson for those who were doing legal trade of that wood, rather than process that wood back into our own economy and utilize it for our own benefit, and not destroy it, and be able to have the satisfaction of saying that none of you want to come back and try pick up this wood when we're not watching, which was the impression that I got during that time. The other area that I also wanted to comment on was that I want to talk also about the Australia decision for banning social media, that is TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and I think X. All of them have been put into a frame where children are not able to access. I'm not quite clear on how that will happen, because if you block one of these platforms, how do you know that the person who is trying to access it is in fact a child? I'm sure they've thought it through, because it's a discussion that has been going on in the Australian Parliament for over a year, and apparently they do have consensus not only in their government but also concerned parents in the society itself, the Society of Australia, saying that something ought to be done. They are looking at the impact of the social media platforms and how it is affecting the behavior of children in Australia. And it's very interesting that is taking place, because around the same time, the United States is moving gradually, and they've been doing it for at least the last 8 or 9 months, to ban TikTok from being able to be allowed in the United States, on a platform in the United States. And this decision is being fought by the company that is the parent company of TikTok. And that parent company, which I believe is Big Dream, something of that sort, that is a Chinese company. And the fear, at least this is what some of the legislators are saying, is that the information gathered from this use of this TikTok can in fact be farmed out to the intelligence apparatus in China, and so that the Chinese would have a lot of information that it can utilize in its espionage with the United States. And so they are justifying closing down TikTok as a means. They have not talked about TikTok's influence on the personality and the behavior of children, but rather what they are saying is that, look, you know, we're putting out too much information, and this information may have a national security concern, and that is the reason why they are thinking about closing down TikTok. Yeah, so it's an important area to observe. We're not doing that yet. I could remember a few years ago, Mr. Perfit, when he was the Attorney General, was advancing legislation to prevent persons from being disrespectful and bullying people on social media. But we haven't gotten to the point of banning the actual use of these platforms. Yeah, welcome, caller.
Yes, morning, brother Nuri.
Yeah, morning, man.
Yeah.
Yes, my brother Will.
Yeah, Nuri, this morning I just want to bring to the attention of the Belizean public, you know, if you saw in the news last night that the elections and boundaries and the government of Belize is once again faced with a case from the Belize Peace Movement, right? And
Yes.
a group of us individuals who have challenged the government, have taken them to court so that we could make elections fair and free in this country. As it is right now, we know that elections is not fair in this country. And, you know, back in 2020, when the government was, the present government was campaigning, they campaigned and said as soon as they get in, they would do redistricting, right? I mean, that was one of the reasons why they allowed the elections to be held in 2020. And going on 2025 now, still no redistricting, right? So we've taken it to the court. And I want to use this medium right here to appeal to any attorneys out there who would like to join our case. Because last night I found the news where the government and the elections and boundaries have gone in for the big nuclear heads they are called.
Yeah.
You know, the big time attorneys to come against us. We, the believers people, I'm sure our believers, apart from the union, the churches, the chamber, the elections and boundaries commission, because they all know that it's wrong what's going on. For years there haven't been fair elections in Belize. You know, all these human rights groups that's out there too in the international community, the US Embassy and all of them that continue to fund Belize despite the fact that the recommendations from the OAS observers in the last election and the election before stated that there need to be corrections to the process. And now we've taken it to court, and that for the big guns, it's like, I mean, this is ridiculous, the amount of money that they will have to pay. These top-notch law firms, they could have used this money to correct what is wrong. I mean, you look, it's wrong, Nuri, and I hope that attorneys, because we have contacted a number of Belizean attorneys, we have gotten pushback from them, we don't want to touch that, that's the government, this, that, and the other, right? But there have got to be some Belizean attorney out there who would be willing to join our case, man. And, I'm just using this video on my for giving us opportunity.
Yeah, let me...
I want to big up this guy. She's one of the few attorneys who have said, you know what, wrong is wrong, and we're gonna fight this thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I want to ask you a question, Will, which might be a little legal question here, but could it be that if the election goes through in 2025, which it will, that your group or another can take the government to court to make that election questionable, null and void, in fact, because it has violated a constitutional principle? And so, in assuming that that may take place, let us get some high-powered lawyers here to beat this case before election so that it will form a precedent that cannot be overturned in the event that your group decides that they want to take the government to court for conducting an illegal election, meaning illegal meaning that it did not go through with the constitutional responsibility to make sure that the constituents or the constituencies are as equal as possible. Do you think that that may be the reason for these big guns? Because I found it strange, Mr. Courtney and Mr. Smith, those are heavy guns.
Big guns, you know what I mean? To me, it's embarrassing, it is shameful that they're going to go for these big guns.
Yeah.
To fight a little group like the Police Peace Movement for doing the right thing, which is the right thing, and that's not appealing to authorities. We got to have some authorities.
Yeah, but do you understand my question? Because I was intrigued when I read that. Yeah.
If they have election tomorrow or if they have it 2025, November, which will be 5 years after they had promised that they would do redistricting, it will be an illegal election.
So there's a possibility that the Belize Peace Movement may in fact sue the government on the basis of calling such an election null and void.
Yes, and exactly. Yes, that. And right now we are trying to get the Elections and Boundaries Commission to correct the situation before we have to go there. You know what I mean? They know it's wrong.
But it's obvious that they are.
They know it's wrong.
Yeah, but they're not. Yeah, but they.
All these organizations, the chamber know it's wrong. You know?
Yeah, maybe that's the reason why you're getting these heavy guns, because you realize that maybe there is a case here. See, these are attorneys, and everything goes according to the law. That's really what a lot of us don't understand, is we've been trying to beat these cases in the public media, but in fact they're only won when we go to court. And Belize Peace Movement has set a precedent that you're willing to take the biggest kid in town, which is the government, to court. And you have gotten recognition from judgments that suggest that you got a good case. And so therefore, even though you are not being allowed, and meaning that the government is not responding by doing the adjustment and delaying the election, we don't know that yet, but maybe they are looking at it in their war room and saying, guess what, in the event that them guys they look like they want to carry with a coat, better we get a judgment, a final judgment, that this thing is on hold, or whatever the judgment says, that we don't have to worry about the Belize Peace Movement trying to take us to court. Because it may even become an ICJ issue. Not ICJ, I'm sorry, CCJ issue. Yeah, it could become a CCJ issue.
And that's why, I mean, like, again, using this medium to appeal to other attorneys out there to join the brilliant Sharon States, who has been one of the few attorneys who have been willing to take the case on. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, come on, Nuri, the Constitution is clear. And they have been violated for the past few elections. And this government got into power saying, as soon as we get paid, if you go back and play into the archive, you will get from 2020 that they say, as we get in, we will do the redistricting.
Yeah, no, it was there.
I mean, they have fooled the Belizean people. Once will they fool them again in 2025? Come on, man. I mean, I'm calling on Belizeans out there, the unions, the churches, all the activist groups, everybody to correct this situation that is wrong. I mean, and it continues to happen. And the folks, the Belizean folks, born and bred Belizean folks who work at that election and boundaries office, who know that wrong is wrong, need to correct this. I mean, you look at the last time I ran in the election, I chose Fort George because it was the smallest constituency, and I wanted to show the Belizean people, not to go up there, because you can't win against the establishment, right? But to show the Belizean people how unjust it is. I walk in the Fort George division, and in less than an hour I cover the whole division, right? While in Toledo East, where I am from, you need, it's over 100 miles. You need a whole day, and you could only visit 2 or 3 villages. You see? So it's so wrong. And the Constitution says, the Constitution is the supreme law of belief, say that it's wrong that each division should be more than 10 or 50% bigger than the other one. While you have scientific weapons, this is what puzzles me about the UD as well. Here they are in turmoil, right? Maybe this should have been the ideal time for either PSA or Shine to say, you know what, let's make it right and we do the redivisioning and make it fair across the board for all the Belizeans.
All right, brother. Good.
Right? But Nuri, I mean, it's just like, it's crazy. I mean, you look at Fort George right there in the last 5 years, the last 4 years. They have, I don't see no big industry in Fort George, but yet their portability went up by over 600 people.
Yeah.
So many people move in there, and you want to tell me that elections and boundaries that can't raise a red flag to do that illegal activities when it comes to voting is happening in there? That is ridiculous, man.
All right, brother. Good. We'll take it there. We'll leave it there. I got to go to break. Thanks very much, Brother Will. All right, it's 13 minutes now to 9 o'clock. We'll take our next break. of December 2024. And we want to remind you that tonight, Thursday night, is at 7:30 tonight here on XTV. You can hear and see Navel String Connection, which is the only diaspora voice that comes out every week. It is produced here by XTV, and the host is Aria Lightfoot and Bilal Morris, and it's an outstanding program. It gets many, many, many views every week because it deals with not only issues in Belize, but the issues that affect the brothers and sisters that we have living in diaspora. And if you listen to the analogy that Ms. Koyi was making this morning, percentage-wise, we have a significant amount of our people. They don't consider themselves refugees. I'm sure some of them consider themselves economic refugees, but we have a significant amount of Belizeans that live abroad, and we must keep them engaged. And so XTV has produced this very important program called Navel String Connection, and hosted by these two outstanding individuals. So we suggest that you, if you haven't listened to it yet, I mean, it's a couple of years old already. It has already cut its teeth, and so it has credibility. And as I said, it's one of XTV's most listened to and viewed program every week. So we encourage you to listen to the program tonight. I want to thank all those who called in to today's program, and we hope to do it again tomorrow, inshallah. We should be here a little bit after 6:30 tomorrow. Thank Brother Larry Guerrero downstairs, Sister Belaid here, as well as Mr. Cliff Lewis. Belizeans, stand strong and stand firm. Do the right thing under all conditions. And we leave now. We gone!
Wake up, Belize. 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 Another day it's here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion, not place. So calling WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show of people. Belize our hopes so to needless reason.
Zingmas 2024. That's right, it's a Zingmas celebration. Live on XTV and Creme Radio. Bring